So you're like I said before, you're dealing with a completely different lifestyle.
Yeah.
You got the kid at 26.
Yep.
And then the girls mess up the business.
How they messed it up, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
So they started selling themselves short. It was like...
We're back at the Hustleman Show, and joining us today is the absolute queen of wholesaling real estate investor, a great friend, an amazing person, absolutely huge heart, always giving. You know what I mean? And she was one of my first teachers, the first teacher for me in wholesaling. That was very pivotal for me. So this is very special, man. Special episode for sure. Joining us today is the great Colleen Gallagher.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
That's an honor and a great introduction coming from you, because I could say all the same things about you.
Appreciate
you're
it.
You're an amazing individual. And, I hope my other students don't feel the type of way. The best, most active student, very coachable, and just, wow, always blow me away.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Colleen.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah. You guys have an interesting relationship. And Kareem always tells me, just like off the record, he's always like, Colleen. Yeah. Like he's brought you up like so many times. And I'm always like, what, why is she so active? What's the difference there? He's like, I don't know, man. She just is. And then when you know about her story, you're like, damn, it's hard not to be impressed.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
And I think I told you this the other day. There's, when you've been around the block a little bit, you've met a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. It's hard, things don't impress you as much anymore. Right? Because you've been exposed to a lot of things. You're an impressive person. Yeah, on the record, off the record. So we're incredibly happy to have you here. All right?
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here with you guys.
Yeah.
You guys are very impressive yourselves. Like
we're okay.
Yeah. Really.
We're okay.
Let's put it out there for the audience. Like, you've been paralyzed from the waist down.
Chest down.
Chest down.
Actually, chest.
Sorry, from the chest. For how many years now?
14 years. March will be 15.
Oh my gosh. Do you mind
25.
talking about the story behind it, or?
No, it's fine. I was 25 years old when I got shot. Mm-hmm. At that time, I definitely was living like a fast life. I had my own business and was making a lot of money. Like I came from nothing, aged out of foster care at 18. Mm-hmm. My dad died in prison. I hate to do the whole childhood thing.
You have to, though.
But
people need to hear this.
Yeah,
they need to hear your story.
Helps people understand. Because people are always like, you go so hard. And it's like, well, when you grew up where your mom was on drugs and in the streets and abusive, and you only ate at school, breakfast and lunch.
You grew up in Kensington, right?
Yeah.
They make documentaries about Kensington, Philly, like, no joke.
Yeah,
it's a rough area.
It's really rough. That's, my whole family's from there. And then I got taken away from her when I was only 10 years old and put into different homes and different places. And then I aged out of the system at 18. I didn't age out and say, oh, well, let me go stay with this relative. Let me go stay with this person. Yeah. I stayed on a few friends' couches, and then I just had to get my own place. Living above like a corner store in Kensington. I'm back there.
So you never had a safety net like growing up?
Right, no.
Never. Yeah.
I had some really close friends, but nothing like that.
Yeah.
So it was like I would go to sleep. There was no heat in there. There was no air conditioning in there. So summertime be very hot, and I'd be laying awake just trying to manifest, because I had like 2 outfits. This is before I started the business.
Right.
So I would manifest.
How old were you around this time?
About 18.
About 18, okay.
Yeah, when I aged out. And I would manifest every night, like, I'm going to have nice clothes. I'm going to have this white BMW. I'm going to have, like, all these things. Because people would make fun of me. Like, they would laugh at me and, like, oh, look at your shoes are all beat up. Like, so I focused on it really, really hard. sharing a room, living above a corner store. I'm just renting a room.
Yeah.
I was actually using my food stamps to pay my rent. So there was no, there would be days where I just had like $1 to eat. And I would buy French fries from the Chinese store and like drink out of the faucet. Jeez. Like that. There was not even cups or silverware or anything. I had like a part-time job, but any funds I made from it just was spent on transportation, buying
just to
tokens
get around,
and getting up to it. Wow. And then one of my close friends, she was doing this stripping thing, and I'm like, I ain't doing that. But I'm interested in what the other things you're doing.
Yeah.
She was working for an escort agency, and I'm like, how does that marketing work? Because she was dropping off a lot of money to them. She's like, well, I need them. They do my ads. And I'm like, well, maybe I could do your ads. So I figured out how to run ads.
So you've always had like an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Whoa. Pause. You figured out how to run ads from the girl that was she was involved in an escort.
Yeah. And so she, at that time, this wasn't on Craigslist yet. There was no Backpage. There was the internet, of course. It wasn't that long ago. But that wasn't where people advertised at. So I was asking her, when these clients talk to you, when you go to see them, where are they saying they saw the ad at? Because that's where we have to figure out, that part. And she kept telling me the city paper. So I'm like, okay, I used one of my tokens and went down to the city paper. It was down at like 2nd and Market. And I went up there and I started talking to the people there. And they were like, it's $45 to run an ad in the back of the city paper. And I was like, I'm going to do this. So the next time I got my little paycheck, instead of buying more tokens, I just took a chance. And I was like, so I ran the first ad in the city paper, and phone just started blowing up. I started booking calls for her. And then I'm like, I'm really good on the phones.
Yeah.
Because at 17, while I was in the group homes, as soon as they gave me permission to get a job, I got a job at a telemarketing place. Within the first 2 weeks, they made me the supervisor there and in charge of training everybody.
Wow. Within 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're like, they hadn't seen anything like it. Yeah. Like there would be people in there, and we'll just call it like sales, but it was like promoting credit cards and trying to get people to sign up for these cards.
So that's where your sales skills started.
Yeah.
Right there.
What was the difference for them? What do you think they saw that they promoted you so quickly?
Some people would go an entire week and only get one sign up for that credit card.
Yeah.
I was getting 10 a day.
Whoa.
So they were like, we need you to train everybody. That comes in from now on.
So the KPIs came back like, oh yeah, you're different.
But when I aged out of the system, I just was like, I don't want to stay. I couldn't stay where I was living in that foster home from that place. So I'm like, okay, well now what am I going to do? But first ad started ringing off the hook, and I'm like, we need more girls. So I had her ask girls at the club because she was doing 2 things. And then before I knew it, I had 8 girls and more ads. Wow. Then I had to like outsource drivers. I'm like, okay, well, these girls need to feel safe and they need rides to these clients.
And how old were you at this point? Still
19. By the time the time I got to the 8, I was 19.
Gotcha.
And then I had them in 3 different states. Like I had them in different states. Then I would send them up to like Allentown for a week and then pay for like hotels up there. Like, okay, you're going to stay up here with this driver for a week, and we're going to make some money there. And then, but most of it was out calls. That was like an in-call situation. I don't know if we should edit that part out because but I guess like time is, time has passed, so I can't get in trouble.
Yeah. Wow.
But after, then the internet, like girls started to advertise on Craigslist and Backpage. So I had to master that. And it really grew. It got to the point I was making $400,000 a year. Wow. So it was like, I'm 24, 25. I got the white BMW that I used to manifest. Every day I would buy a new outfit. I wouldn't even do laundry. It's just like, I'm on the go. Let me, I'm going here, I'm going there. Let me just go buy a new outfit, a whole new fit every single day. I had an apartment where the 1 bedroom was just filled with shoes and wish it was filled with deeds, right? You wish you could like. So when you're getting all this money, you could be an ambitious person. You could be really smart and you could be doing all these things. But if you're not healed, you're still hurting. So I was drinking a lot, going out with my friends all the time. Definitely wasn't living the best life. And then just surrounding myself with the wrong people.
So you had different outlets because of that.
Yeah.
You had the money, but you were using it for different outlets.
Yeah, like, and then when you're the only person in your friend group that has that kind of money, like, and you want to go on a trip or something, it's like, well, I'll pay for you. I got you guys. Like, I'll do. And, all right, we're all going out to the club. Well, I got it. So
It's like a slippery slope there.
yeah, it really was. But at the night I got shot, one of the girls that worked for me, she begged me to go out with her. She went through a breakup, and I was actually letting her stay in my place. At this point, I left Philly. I got a house over in Jersey that I was subletting from somebody else. And hold on, let me take a sip of this, so I can really get into it. But yeah, it was a crazy night. She basically was like, will you come out with me tonight? I'm having a hard time. She was going through a breakup.
Yeah.
And I just like rolled my eyes, but I was like, all right, I'll go out with you. I was planning to stay in, work on all these ads and stuff for work, but I'll do it. And then we went to this bar that I've frequented this bar. I knew
Philly?
the people there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like everybody there I knew. Towards the end, we were all drinking, and she was like, do you mind if I bring this guy to the place, to our place? Well, my place. And I was like, yeah, well, you pay rent there now too, so that's fine. And we all went back in the same car, and I sat down on my couch, and she went to her room with the guy, and the guy came back out. He took off his jacket. He started to take off his jacket, and he said, where is your guy at? Because at the time I was dating my son's father. But I broke up with him a few weeks before that. And he had left and moved out. But every time I brought him around to that bar, he would always be giving the guys there, and it's their neighborhood, like dirty looks and just kind of staring at him. And they would always say to me, stop bringing this Jersey guy around here if it's going to be a problem. And I'm like, no, he's fine. He's just not very social. So that night, fast forward in the house, the guy was like, oh, where's this guy at? And he started to reach for something in his jacket. And he was like, because if he comes around and it's a problem, I have something for him. And he started to pull it out to show me the gun, and it went off.
What the hell?
Yeah. And it hit me in the shoulder, and it broke my collarbone and bounced around inside. Broke some ribs, went through my lung, and then somehow hit the spine. Now, when it happened, he panicked. He grabbed my car keys, my purse, and took off. Like, you just shot somebody, and you're first, like, I understand you want to get out of here because he was on, like, parole. I found out later. Okay, I get that because this doesn't look good. But you just take off, steal everything, and then take off. The girl that was there, she took off too.
Wow.
They all left
Out of
me.
your house.
Yeah. She heard the gunshot. She ran out. She saw what happened, and they all left. She took in her car because her car was sitting out front, and he took my car, and they both took off. And then
You were just there on the ground.
I was passing out, and I was like trying to get to my phone because I had so much bleeding internally. So I grabbed my phone and I just called 911 as quick as I could. Now, 911, they were like, who did it? And I lied because I'm like, I don't want to say any names. Like, I just gave them a completely different description than who actually did it. Yeah. So that was the last thing I remember. I passed out. I died twice on the way to the hospital. They tried to resuscitate me. They were able to. I had to have multiple blood transfusions. I was in a coma for 2 months. They told my family, my sister, well, only family that showed up there was my sister. She's not going to make it. Like, and then aunts too, because I don't want it. Wait, we showed up too, but really it was my sister. That was all I really had at that time. And they wouldn't, because it was an incident that involved a shooting. The security at the hospital, I'm in a coma. They're not letting just anybody in there.
I see.
So they would let my sister in, but everybody else was on the outside. Like, my bestest friends were like, girl, we tried to get in. We were outside crying for weeks. They would not let us in there. But they told her, prepare for a funeral, like start making plans because she's lost so much. Like we don't think she could pull through. Yeah. They had to cut me open within the first week and cut out half of my lung because it got infected from the bullet. So they thought for sure, they had the trachea in, so ventilator plus they had to cut the whole hair, put that in there. 5 chest tubes to keep draining out the blood. Lungs kept collapsing. Jesus. I could not breathe on my own. And they just really didn't think there was a point to keep me on machines.
Right.
And
how long were you on machines at that point?
Altogether, it was like 2 whole months I was on.
With the coma.
Yeah, I was in a pretty bad condition. But during that time while I was in the coma, I saw hell. Like I was going to hell. Like I really saw hell. And it wasn't like, maybe it was just a dream. Maybe it was the medications they had you on. No, it was a warning. Like that's where I was going if I didn't get my life together. So when I did finally wake up, it was actually it's funny. It's not funny, but when I woke up, they had to keep explaining to me I was paralyzed. And every time they would, I would freak out and they would have to sedate me. So it took like a whole week to actually wake me up and take the restraints off. Right. Because they had me restrained to the bed because I would keep trying to pull out the chest tubes. I would keep trying to pull out the IVs. But when they finally were able to explain it to me and I'm like, because it was like Groundhog's Day every time. Yeah. I was just like, no, you don't know that. Like you can't predict what will happen with me. Sorry guys.
No, you're good.
So hard because
it's tough.
Like just hearing at 25 when you've had to be so independent. You'll never walk again, and now you need help with everything. It was completely unbearable.
Phil, you have any napkins, tissues back there?
Sorry, I'm the biggest crybaby.
This is a big story. Take your time for sure.
But and then they were like, I was like, well, can I at least have some juice? And they were like, no, you can't drink anything. I'm like, you are terrible.
That's crazy. He said you're terrible.
I'm like, I'm so thirsty. But the medication was messing with me too. So I really thought the nurse was accusing me of stealing her sneakers. My sister came up and I'm like, I got to get out of here. Yeah. She was like, why? I'm like, this lady had the audacity to accuse me of stealing her sneakers. And my sister was so upset. She was like, who? Point her out. And I'm like, the nurse was like, that never happened. You're on morphine. I'm like, yeah, well, I hope not. But it was really hard at first, just realizing not only did I wake up paralyzed, but I woke up with nothing. Everything I built was gone. From my car being gone to my place being gone. My younger brother, who I don't have a relationship with, he robbed me. He went in there. I mean, everything from my clothes to my television, everything completely gone. My money, everything I had nothing. I was homeless. I woke up homeless from the coma. And to realize that,
not one person in your corner after
that? Just my sister was there.
Sister. And your friends, but
my aunts and stuff. But financially, no. Wow. I was homeless. So the first thing I asked for was, luckily my laptop wasn't in that house or my brother would have took it. Mm-hmm. It's at my friend's house. I was like, get me my laptop. I have to work. And I just started working.
This is coming after a coma, realizing that you're now paralyzed, understanding that you lost everything again.
Yeah. So I was booking calls at night. The nurses were like, can you keep it down? I'm running a business. The girls, were all still contacting me hey, we're glad you're okay, but we need to make money. And I'm like, me too. Right. so I just, right back to it. Jeez. And then I'm in the physical, because you do 2 months, the 2 months in the coma, and then you have to do 2 months of physical therapy inpatient. So I'm living in the hospital doing this and trying to figure out how am I going to get back on my feet? I'm not believing what they're saying. And I'm researching all different ways, and they're just telling me, you're never going to walk again. They have to tell you that. They're there's no chance. So we don't want to get your hopes up. And I'm like, you don't have the final say. You're not God. He does. And then really important, I saw hell in the coma. So when I woke up, I couldn't even listen to rap music, like my normal, all the stuff I used to do, that was done.
Wow.
I woke up like having to listen to the most serene, like, sonic music. Like I was so traumatized too. Like loud noises would set me off and really upset me.
You were like retuning your body.
Yeah.
What if you could describe what that looked like? What did it look like when you saw hell?
Oh, it was
It's kind of like the way they painted, like
flames, dark. You're in a very dark place. You're watching people get murdered around you. Jesus. You're watching there was always I was always getting stabbed and tortured.
You could feel things too.
Yeah, it felt so real, but getting stabbed repeatedly and just being in that place and it was terrible. I woke up changed. I need to get saved. And then I was going to the church in the facility every Sunday, and I was just a completely different person.
So that was a message from God at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it was just really tough. Even though I was working and making money, I didn't have any credit. I just spent all this time making this fast money. I never thought about building credit. My mom ruined that before I was an adult. How am I going to get an apartment or a place to live with no credit and no, on the paper job? What am I going to do now? I had to live in a nursing home. Wow. They took me from there, and I ended up in a nursing home. My roommate died next to me. She was 90 plus years old. They left her in the bed.
That was your only option, was to find a nursing home. Jeez.
I had nobody willing to help me. I had one person that was like, you could come here. And I went with her for a little bit, but then she would get drunk and tell me get up, walk. I'd be like, can you hand me my charger? Cause I have to work. And she would be like, you get it. Can't you walk to it?
It's probably so demoralizing.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And she would purposely try to break me down, because she was like, oh, you used to be so strong. You used to be this. So I had to leave there. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And I ended up having to go to the hospital for something else, because the first couple years, there's so many complications. I was in the hospital every other month for 2 weeks at a time, getting IV antibiotics from different infections you get because of this new life you have. And the way, I had so much stuff going on. But when I went to the hospital and I realized, I can't go back there. I need to do something. And I told the hospital this. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out something. And they're like, well, you have to go. So they put me in that nursing home. And they're like, don't worry, we'll work on getting you housing or something.
Were there any assistance from the state or?
Yeah, they were like, we'll work on that.
Just work. Okay.
So I'm like, okay. But I had to be there for months.
Right.
Well, while I'm there, I'm looking up all these different surgeries and procedures. I'm like, this is not.
I'm trying to find out how to walk again. Yeah.
So I found this place in India that does the stem cells. So now I'm saving for that, saving for this place, trying to do all this.
But you're making money already though. Yeah. So you're back on track. Yeah. You're a hustler.
What are you doing at the time, Colleen? What are you
I'm booking calls for the girls. I'm right back to the agency I'm running.
After losing everything.
And now it's not the city paper anymore. Now it's Backpage. Now it's Craigslist. It's different.
You're doing online marketing.
Yep, paying for the online ads. My close friends are picking the money up from me from different drivers if it's cash, and then they're bringing it to me at the end of the month if I need it sooner. Hey, can you drop that off now? They would bring it. So my best friend Jamila, she was one of the drivers that during that time she's like, whatever you need, I'm gonna make sure it gets done. So I'm still running that business.
That's respect.
Yeah, and then they let me out for Valentine's Day, just one day from the nursing home, because it's like a prison type situation. Oh, wow. You can't leave. You can't. Unless you're ready to leave permanently. And I had nowhere to go, so I'm like, all my friends' houses have steps. There's nothing accessible. If I get, they'll carry me inside.
You're still getting used to being paralyzed at that point.
And I'm still healing. Yeah. I got cut all the way open. My scars are insane. Yeah. Still dealing with. They took the trachea out at the last part, but that first year I couldn't do anything. I couldn't blow up a balloon. I still can't because you have no lung power.
Yeah.
And you keep getting like PEs, pulmonary embolisms. I always say it wrong. But I had to keep going back to the hospital for that. They had to put a filter in because the blood clots could go to your heart. And it was just complication after complication. Yeah. But February, so I'm getting closer to the point where I'm like, I'm about to get this house, like, or an apartment or something. Like, everything's going the right way. But they let me out for one day, Valentine's Day. The first time I got to be alone with my, at the time then, boyfriend. And then I come back and they're like, you know, like a month later, they're like, you can't, well, actually I went to the store because I'm like, I'm an adult. And the store was right next door.
Yeah.
And they see me do it before. I did it a couple times. I waved to the secretary and I'm like, listen, I'm rolling to the store. I will be right back. And while I'm in the store, I hear over the loudspeaker, Colleen Gallagher. And I'm like, huh? I go to the front and there's like police officers. I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, you have gone AWOL from this facility. You need to come with us. I was like, you're
What?
So they took me to a hospital and they're like, the facility needs to know that you haven't encountered any drugs or alcohol during your time out. We're going to test you. I'm like, okay. Like I was in Walmart, but okay. So they test me and then a doctor comes back in and she's like, so did you know you were pregnant? And I'm like, yeah, right. I'm like, that's a funny joke you're telling. And it was literally April's Fool's Day. And she's like, no, you are pregnant. Were you aware? I'm like, how could that be? I've only been outside one day in the past like year.
Yeah.
So there's no way. She's like, well, you know, they say it only takes one time. And I found out I was pregnant with my son.
Wow.
Yeah. What? So I'm pregnant, homeless. And now they're like, and I'm in this nursing home.
Nursing home, yeah.
But they're like, so the nursing home can't allow you to come back because you're pregnant. And that's like a liability.
So many things acting against you, bro.
Yeah. So I'm like, huh. So I'm like, well, where am I going then? And they're like, well, we can't kick you out. Like, I guess you have to stay here. But we have a social worker here that will help you get housing. I said, I was already waiting on that over there. Like, and they were like, well, they probably weren't doing anything. But this is more of an emergency situation. There's a program called NED, Non-Elderly Disabled Housing. They probably didn't tell you about, but if you're under 55 and you're disabled, you automatically qualify for Section 8. And I was like, oh, no waiting list. So I had to live in that hospital for my whole pregnancy, like almost the entire pregnancy. So, but I'm still working because now I'm pregnant and now I need to provide for my child. So I'm all night long working till 6 a.m, booking calls for these girls, stacking my money up, ordering stuff for the baby online because I'm like, I'm about to get a place for my child and like have this little peanut. And then by the time I think I was like 7 months, they were like, okay, we got your voucher. And my sister and my best friend went and found different apartments and they found me a place. So I got out just in time to like nest and get ready for the baby to come. And then once he was here, it was like, I wasn't sad anymore because it was no longer about me or what I lost. I'm a mom now.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's God right there, man.
Yeah. It was a lot.
It's a lot right there.
Yeah.
You gotta let that breathe for sure.
Yeah. And then I just was like, I need to walk again for him. So I was on a mission to get the money to get the stem cell treatments I found in India. So when he was barely 3, I had it. And I went over there to get that, which was very expensive. But I was very disappointed because at the end, they were like, the bullet went through your spine and caused all this scar tissue. So it's going to be hard for the stem cells to grow over that damaged tissue. But the benefits were, you know, within 18 months, because it takes that time to grow, I started to get some feeling back below my chest.
So you start feeling more sensitivity coming
and then
in.
I could start to move my hips and start to do different things. So I'm like, it does work, but, you know, there was that scar tissue, but I don't care. I believe God's going to see me on my feet again. Like, I'm just going to keep at it. Like, I'm not going to take it as a no or this is final.
Right.
Like he has the final say. But then I was just so, I still kept working, but I was so locked into mommy mode that I wasn't chasing.
It really gave you hope, I would imagine.
Oh my God, so much hope.
Yeah.
And just so much purpose too. So everything was like being a Pinterest mom, like looking up the different activities I could do with my child today.
That's amazing.
You know, sensory activities and fun things and crafts, and it's just all focused on that.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of that pain away, but then at the same time, it would still be very painful because when you take your child to the beach and you have to watch from the boardwalk and they're bringing you buckets of sand, like, Mommy, you should feel the beach too.
Right. That's tough. That's so tough. No, you gotta let her breathe.
And I'm the biggest crybaby too.
This is a story, man.
Colleen, you've earned the right to react any way you want. You're I don't know what to make of you. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of you. I mean, I hear a lot of stories. I see a lot of people that are considered strong. You're like one of the, I don't know why, but you seem to like embody resilience, like at every fucking step. How do you even let that? How do you even put that behind you?
It was really hard because I think for me, like my mom had 7, and my mom's gonna be watching this.
Yeah.
So I don't want to.
Do you have a good relationship with her now?
We are cordial now. We do have a good relationship now. She's done a lot of healing herself.
Yeah.
She had a very terrible childhood too.
Yeah.
Like the things you've heard about my childhood look like Disneyland compared to what she suffered and what her siblings suffered. Makes no excuse, right? Of course.
Hurt people, right?
Right, exactly. But me, it's like being one of 7 kids. We all have different dads except 2. I was the only one that stayed with her as long as I did.
Yeah.
Until I was 10. All the other, not that I was her favorite, but she didn't let me go when, there were siblings that were given up for adoption or given to different people. I had a brother that grew up as, I thought he was my cousin until I was like 10. Then it just all came out, oh no, he's actually your brother.
Wow.
So it was a lot, but for me, it was more so like, all right, I just need to get through this. If I could get through this. And I think a lot of my skills with being able to talk to anybody came from being a victim of childhood abuse and trauma, because you never want to upset that person.
Yeah.
So you have to learn to talk a certain way. You have to learn how to identify like people really quickly.
How to reflect them.
You strike me as somebody that has a high EQ, an emotional. Yeah. Like you can read the room well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
pretty
I can see
fast.
that.
It helps me a lot, but it was like really a survival thing.
Yeah.
Like, is my mom, is she, and I'm glad that she's clean and sober now. And I'm glad that she's like, she'll contact, do you need anything? Are you taking care of yourself? But at that time, it was just the drugs.
Yeah.
The drugs were everything. So it was, for me as a child, if I see her, because she wasn't there all the time, is she coming down or is she happy? Or does she have what she needs? If she's coming down, I need to tiptoe. I need to
You need to know how to react to her.
Yeah. So learning very early on what, I've dealt with every seller dealing with my mom.
Yeah.
The red seller, the green seller, all that pretty fast. And then also having to befriend people, really wanting to be their friend, but also like, oh, their mom cooks. Maybe I could be friends with them, like, and eat dinner over there.
Right.
Or, oh my God, their family is like going to go to the beach. Like, wow, that's interesting. Like being extra nice to that mom, because maybe they'll take me along too.
Right.
So like really being able to identify things and knowing how to talk to people early on was a survival skill for me.
Yeah. What kind of kid were you?
I was such
like 10-year-old version of you. Like what kind of kid were you?
I was like most respectable child ever. People used to say that all the time. Like, wow, I wish I had a kid like you. And people would always compare me to their kids. Like, why can't you be like Colleen? And make me like feel really awkward. But I'm like, well, because you don't abuse them, so they're not afraid to, whatever. But I was a really good kid. Like, I was just always afraid of doing something wrong. So well behaved, smart. Like, I think C's were like my lowest grade.
Really?
Yeah. And I would feel very disappointed in myself with that. But yeah, I was a pretty good kid. Yeah.
You had your own criteria of what you felt like was acceptable for grades and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And nobody was monitoring that.
No.
It was just you.
I would get myself up for school every day. 8 years old. By 8, I was probably even before then. But like, I was outside selling pretzels at 8, like buy the pretzels for 10 cents. My mom used to make me do it at first, and then I would figure out how to do that stuff on my own. But yeah, I was very self-sufficient. I guess you call it a latchkey kid. I didn't realize it at the time, but we were squatting in houses. We were squatting. I didn't think about it until I got into real estate. And I'm like, wait a second, how was my mom paying rent? And I never saw a landlord. I never saw this and that. And sometimes we would get into these places through the window, and then we would change the locks later. And then, and then notices would pop up or be on the door, but she was never filling out any applications.
Right.
So I later realized, like, we were squatting. We were going house to house in Kensington and just going through whatever window of a property that was vacant.
Yeah.
We were staying in houses, when I look back, that had graffiti all over the walls and like no heat. And in the wintertime, she would just put, like, if she would do it, but like a bunch of blankets on me. And it's like, here, just bundle up with this and I'll see you later. And then she'd be gone for like 3 days. So yeah, it was.
Couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. She was in the streets. She was definitely like, and then, she would pull up in different cars that you would start with a screwdriver. And I just was like, oh, maybe the thing's broken. Yeah. But she was, my mom went to jail for multiple things, arson. She burnt down like a restaurant in broad daylight. Yeah, waved to the witnesses like with the gas can. And,
whoa.
She's been upstate multiple times. And yeah, it was a different life. And then when all your aunts and uncles too are on drugs, I had
that was your environment.
Yeah, like I had her siblings were 8. 5 of them were dead before they were 40 or 45, overdosed or murdered. And my uncle's upstate for murder. Like, the whole environment, like, you can't, like, I would go over to my aunt's, sometimes, and it's like, oh, there is some food here, but there's also, it's not the best environment either.
Right.
So you're doing the backlinking thing, right? You're on Craigslist, right?
Yeah.
You find success doing that because you're somebody that knows how to communicate.
Yeah.
And you conditioned yourself as a kid to know when you're communicating with the right person, it's going to give you what you need to survive.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. So where does that go? What's that next? How do you jump into the rest of your life? Because you're 25, you have a kid.
Well, the kid came 26.
Right.
Yes,
26.
Yes.
You have a kid.
Yep.
You have a completely different life, physically, right?
Yeah.
But you're resilient, and you're optimistic.
Yes.
You've always been optimistic.
Always. It's a Sagittarius thing. Always thank God, like, for letting me be born when I was born, because Sagittarius just have it like inside of them. I don't know what it is, but we always think it's just going to work out.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah,
and it seems to always work out for you.
Not always, but like, yeah, a lot. If I really want it, yeah, it's going to work out. If I'm really determined, yeah. And I believe, that's the biggest part. You have to believe.
Yeah.
Because if you sit there and think, yeah, they're right. Because I've watched other paraplegics say, like, yeah, I'm never going to, what's the point? And then they're very bitter. They're mean to everyone.
They break themselves mentally.
But at 20, back to your question, at that time, I'm so focused on being a mom, but I got to provide, right?
Yeah.
Christmases, birthdays. I'm lucky enough to have the housing set up, so that's not a big stressor. Yeah. I got that non-elderly disabled housing.
Yeah.
But this is my kid we're talking about. They're going to need things and a lot of things because I didn't have any of these things.
Right.
So I definitely wanted, a lot of people say it, I want to give my children everything I didn't have.
Change
so
your
I was
paradigm.
still up every night. My schedule was working till 6 a.m. I might sleep for 3 or 4 hours, but then it's like time to be with the baby.
Yeah.
Until the point that the girls started messing it up. Not my girls.
Whatever you're not
Yeah.
comfortable with, we'll add it
Yeah.
out. So you're like I said before, you're dealing with a completely different lifestyle.
Yeah.
You got the kid at 26.
Yep.
And then the girls mess up the business.
How they messed it up though.
Yeah, go ahead.
So they started selling themselves short. It was like overnight. A lot of the girls that work for me didn't want to do the ads. They could probably do it, but they just were like, oh, I don't want to do all that. I can't do that. I don't even know how to do that on the computer. But then the girls that did know how started charging $40 an hour for everything. Who's going to pay for my girls that are $2.50 an hour? And that's not for everything. When there's these girls on there that are charging $40.
Got it.
The guys are going straight to the $40 girls.
So they were basically competing with you.
Yes. And the industry, it took a whole change where it's like, okay, I could lower the prices as much as I can, but I still have to make sure these drivers get paid.
Yeah.
Still have to make sure I'm making my fee. And it was tough. It was really tough.
So then what happens next?
Then I was like, I'm going to get into some other businesses because I want to just focus on my child, and dealing with this is a headache. It really was becoming one. So I'm like, I'm just going to do something else. So I started doing like a drop shipping business before drop shipping was a thing. I started growing this business on social media, and I would buy these baby bows and baby stuff because I'm like, they love their kids. They want to buy their kids the most. I would buy bows for like $1 and then sell them for $20 a piece on that social media. And it picked up, and it was really marketing and paying like more people that had real large followings, like kid models, like sending items to their moms, like, hey, could they model this? And that really helped it grow. And it got to like 5,000 followers, and I'm taking orders all the time. But I'm like, this is a lot. Like, this is a lot. Like, it's good. It's lucrative, but this is a lot of work. And this is before drop shipping is really a thing. So I didn't have like any help or hints to how to do this. Yeah. I was just like, oh, I know I could get these, bougie moms to buy these bows for $20 and these necklaces. So I eventually said, I'm just going to sell it. Like, it was taking away too much time from my kid.
Yeah.
So I ended up just selling it for $5,000 to somebody that wanted the followers and the business. Now I had like other things going on. I don't know if I want to I could say off record. But I was making like, enough money coming in every month where I didn't really have to work. I didn't have to do anything. Now I definitely wasn't like wealthy or rich. But my kid, like if you go back on my social media before wholesaling, you'll see that my kid traveled. Like we, every birthday, every Christmas was super special. It was like a big production. And they got to go to Disney World. They got to go on all these, we're at Myrtle Beach every summer and spending a couple grand on just having a place to stay.
Give them the life that you always wanted to give.
Yeah, but it still was like, it got to a point where it's like, this is not assets though. This is not wealth. Like, yes, they live a good life where they're not wanting for anything, but we also, don't have anything. Yeah. Like, what do I have? I have a car. Now I have one van and a cell phone or two. Like, that's it. Like, I need something for him. I want to build for him. Yeah. And I always wanted to be in real estate. Like, I always had that dream.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, was it early on, like, were you thinking about real estate?
Making sure I don't have, like, any lipstick on my teeth or anything.
You're good.
But, yeah,
was that always
it's
a goal
funny
for you?
story about, I probably should have started there.
No, you started perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
But when I was 18, 19, right before I started doing the ads, I wanted to be a real estate agent and then eventually buy. I didn't have the money. I was living in that room.
Right.
I didn't have the money for the licensing and the classes, but there was this real estate company. It's called Dunphy Sells. It's still in Philly, where they would exchange. If you cleaned out some of their properties, they would give you the classes for free. So every weekend I was cleaning out properties because I'm like, I need this class. Like, I want to be an agent. And the night before the test, like the big test, I went out. My friends were like, come out, let's drink. And I overslept for the test. Overslept and didn't make it. And then like 2 months later is when I started running the ads. So
Now, you wanted to be an agent just to get into the industry of real
just
estate?
to make money, but my goal was always ownership.
How old were
always
you?
wanted to be a landlord.
18, 19 years
How,
old.
how old are you when you're doing the clean outs?
18.
18.
Yep. As soon as I got out of the foster care
I got
system.
it. So this is prior to
The
I
ads
got it.
and running.
So that was in the
business.
back of your head. Mm-hmm. Being in real estate was in the back of
Yes,
your head.
yeah.
How did that get into your head?
Actually, you know what? My one sister, her dad, his mother, I went over there a few times. That's her grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
She was like the toughest Italian lady, and she was very frugal. Like, would buy like stuff from Goodwill all the time. But I would hear things about her owning properties, and I would ask her, I'm like, so what is that like? And she would tell me like, well, I bought this one property for $35,000 and today it's worth $200,000. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like,
crazy.
how did you do that? And she's like, well, I was always poor, but like I saved everything I could and just sacrificed. And then she had like part ownership. She's from New York. She had part ownership. Her siblings actually tried to cut her out of the will. Her parents owned an apartment building up there, and she fought for herself, and she had that. And then she just kept reinvesting. Like, she would flip something, then reinvest and buy more. And she used her money from real estate to buy stock in Apple. Like, and then, so she died a millionaire. And it was crazy because she was not my grandmother, but at the end, all of her family, like blood siblings or relatives or grandkids, like robbed her. And she had nobody to take care of her at the end. And I was like, no, they're not allowed to do these things. So I got all of her stuff protected for her, took her to her lawyer. And I'm like, here, fix this for her so these people could stop robbing her. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I was like taking care of her in the end. Yeah, it was crazy. From the wheelchair, like my son was taking, doing the pushing the cart while we would do the grocery shopping for her and
That's
stuff.
such a testament, like the type of person you are, like coming back from your situation, but you're always giving and always helping out for people.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So that was like your first experience, like with real estate, knowing that you wanted to have ownership.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw her, and then like other people too. It was just always very interesting to me, real estate, like being a landlord. Like, how do you get to that point? But I really assumed you needed a lot of capital or like really great credit to do it. So when I was making all the money with the agency, I wish I would have invested, but I was like, oh, I'm not even qualified. Even though I have all this cash, I have all this money, I don't have good credit. Like, I really thought you needed that to buy.
And shout out to mentorship, because we both have the same mentor, and that's how we met.
Mitt215. Shout out to Mitt215.
Shout out to Mitt, man. And then you joined, like, I think a year beforehand.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, you did 42 deals your first year of wholesaling contracts.
And you know what? It was
insane.
It was really crazy, but it was also like a way for me to not feel pain, because the month before I signed up for that, my best friend in the whole world committed suicide.
I remember you mentioned that.
Yeah,
before.
and that was, for me, I couldn't even think about it.
Your
I
best
could
friend?
not. Yeah, like best friend in the whole world. We used to call each other peanut butter and jelly.
Wow.
Like I was the peanut butter, she was the jelly. Like we could finish each other's sentences. Like best friend in the whole entire world. And she struggled with the alcohol. Mm-hmm. Like when I had the baby, she was like going through a bad breakup. So she's watching me, have this family life. And even though I'm not the richest person in the world, very happy because I have my child, and it's all about, planning for this, planning for that. I didn't have as much time for her. And then she was drinking more and more. And I felt so bad about that.
You
and
felt guilty a little bit?
Yeah, when she passed and it happened, I felt terribly guilty. Like, should I have done something else? Should I have spent more time with her? But I felt like, because she had made an attempt before when not an attempt, but she told me she was getting sober. And I was like, okay, well, then I'll bring my kid around you. And I took my kid up to her place, her mom's place. Her mom had a pool out back. When I got there, she got in the pool with my kid. And within a couple minutes, I saw her looking a little funny. And I'm like, were you drinking or something? Like something's off. And then she just went under the water. My kid's in the pool. I'm in a wheelchair. And she's drowning. And I'm like trying to like get in there. I can't. My kid is holding her head up. And I'm like, oh my God, Jess, like, but she's completely out of it. And I'm calling 911 and it took all these people to get her out. They rushed her to Cooper. And she went into a coma herself. They didn't think she would make it. But when she did make it, I told her ass, I can't believe you would do that. Like, she's like, oh, well, I took some medicine, some blood pressure stuff I shouldn't have. And I'm like, I'm so glad you're alive, but I need to stop being around you because you just did that in front of my kid. My kid's never witnessed anything like that.
Traumatic.
I've done such a good job sheltering my child, like as loud as I could be or as whatever I can be. Oh, my kid, tiger mom, and we're just, it's a very wholesome. You can't watch certain things or see certain things, and then for them to experience something like that. After that, I spent a lot of time away from her. Like, I'm here for you, friend, but I need you to get better.
Right.
And then when it happened to her and it really was no coming back and her mom pulled the plug, I was going to lose my mind completely. So I said, I need to find something because if I sit here and think like I'm not going to be okay. And so I started following as many people as I could on Instagram that were in real estate. And I'm like, why didn't I ever go through with the real estate thing? I need to go back to that. I need to go back to that. So I started studying. I was studying on YouTube University. I was doing like driving for dollars, but didn't have any contract to, send these agreements. And then I came across.
You start taking action.
How long ago was that?
It'll be 4 years in December.
Got it.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then at that point, because I actually
We're trying to buy it, bro.
Yeah, before that date, I knew I wanted to do something more with myself, and I wanted to get an investment property, so I was saving up. So I had some money saved up, and I came across Mitt, and I saw he had a property for sale for like $15K. I was like, oh my God, I can't find anything like that in Philly.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to buy it. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
So I bought it. I talked him down to 13.5. And I bought it, but then I was like, oh no, now I need money for renovations. Like, what am I going to do now? I guess back to the drawing board. And then I saw the wholesaling thing he was doing. I was like, maybe I should go to that webinar. And it was really my last, like I really didn't have much left out of what I had saved.
Right, what you bought and all that, yeah.
And I, like right on the webinar, I messaged him like, can I pay you right now through Cash App? Like I have it, but it's in Cash App. I can't explain. Yeah. And he was like, okay. So I sent it to him and that was it. I locked in. And at first I didn't think I could do it. I actually kind of like freaked out. I was like, you're not good enough. Like you can't do this. They're going to know you don't know what you're talking about in real estate. What seller would like agree to give you their property?
These are like all natural new wholesaler thoughts.
Yeah.
Because I had the same thoughts.
And I always, when people say it, like they're nervous, I'm like, so was I. Yeah. Like, you think something's wrong with that? I was freaking out. I was literally crying, saying like, oh God, because I couldn't figure out a spreadsheet in it to upload a list. Well, then I just like had a pep talk with myself, like, girl, you've been shot. You can't do this.
That's what I say. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Like, as much as you've gone
what
through,
are you crying
and done.
about? Like, you've survived everything that could break you.
Yes.
You've been through every form of abuse known to man, like, but you're going to let a spreadsheet stop you. So I like got myself together. And the next day I sent out the first set of texts and the second person that texted me back was my first deal. Wow. So I'm like, okay, proof of comp, only $1,500. But I swore the cops were going to lock me up when I went to the bank. Like I'm in the bank, like looking around like, all right, when are they coming? Because like I definitely don't have a license, and this can't be legit. Like, when are they coming?
Right.
But by deal number 3, it was $10K on that deal, and I was like, this is it. So I got the virtual
So for the audience,
assistance.
to wholesale contracts, you don't need a license, you don't need credit, you don't need money.
Nothing.
It's everything you teach every Thursday and within the course.
Yep.
So real.
I bought one list for $12.50. Wow. And that's how I got that first deal. Wow. Second deal came from networking like you do, with a classmate that had a deal, and I had the buyer from the first deal.
Right.
So I made $2,200 off that.
And when your first deal, you were like a little timid to call, so you were doing texts.
All text.
All texts. You locked up a deal and made money.
I'll admit
from
something.
Start to finish.
I'll admit something on here, only because it's you guys, and like you guys are amazing. But I always, because you always tell the students like get on the phones, and I told them, I was nervous to talk at first. It was just all through text. Mm-hmm. I actually never got on the phones. I went from the text straight to the VAs.
Oh, word.
And then I made the VAs lock up the deals. But then I was like, all right, well, I do have to get on the phones now to talk to them. Yeah. But I'll tell students like, yeah, I text. And eventually I felt brave enough to get on the phones. And it's like, well, I didn't cold call. I had, I hired the VAs, and then I called back the leads. But yeah, I got on the phones.
But now you just natural. Creative finance, $0 down, flying out to California, meeting these sellers. Like,
I actually prefer to get on the phones with them now. Like, let me talk to them because I want to really get this deal and the way I want to get it.
So it's just like riding a bike. And I always tell that to people. Like, it's going to be very intimidating at first, and even for a few months, and then you start closing out your deal. Once you start making money, like, bro, this is real. And you do it repeatedly. Like, it's undeniable truth. So that's amazing. So that's fast forward. That's where we at today. You crush it that first year, 42 closed deals. Now you're instructing people. Yeah. I was one of your students, so I signed up to the course. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I was learning through the course, and then you gave me so much empowerment. Like, you were just making it fun. Yeah. The role playing, the funny accents. Like, guys, just get out there. You've learned everything you need to do. Right. Just get out there and make these calls. Right. And I did exactly that. My first deal was $11,000.
I know.
Made that in like 60 days, 90 days, and I started off broke and changed my life now. Yeah. So thank you. You've been a huge inspiration for me.
Thank you for like really taking action and doing your thing.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's amazing.
The 42 deals, though, I don't think it would have came about, honestly, if I did not get creative. Because for me, it was hard. Like, it wasn't hard getting the deals. And when the VAs came, I had like 20 deals under contract within like 30 days. Wow. So it was like, okay, now I need buyers. I need buyers. And I kept getting banned from Facebook Marketplace. Yep. So it's like, what do you do? Like, how do you pivot if you're banned from Facebook Marketplace? Your options are cold calling cash buyers lists or texting. And so I just saw an influencer and I was like, they're in real estate. They have a lot of followers. I wonder if we could both make money off my deals. So it took me 2 months of harassing them on their lives, but I was persistent. Yeah. I kept telling them, like, we need to talk. We can make a lot of money together. Let's talk. I got deals under 20K that I know you can assign for more. Let's make some money together. And then one night, I was so determined to get this person. I mean, my sights were set on it. One night, I had all the notifications on for their live. They got on at like 1 a.m. and it was like a Saturday night and they were drunk. And I was on there and I was like, back in the comments, I was like, you don't really want this money. Because like I got all these deals and you're just playing games. And they're like, what? And they're like, send me your number right now. And I was like, don't threaten me with a good time. So I sent them the number and they called and like I had to hit mute because I had to let out like a scream. I was like,
you finally got them.
I was like, oh my God. And we went to dinner. They took me and my family out to dinner down in Baltimore because I had properties that I'm like, I could show you ones in Baltimore right now. What you want? You want Flint? Where you want Cleveland? Like, what do you want? I got deals everywhere. And when we went out, they were like, look, I've done this before with other wholesalers. Just, don't get greedy. Like, if you get really greedy on the assignment fees, and should be a red flag because whatever I get it under for is my business, right?
Right.
But I'm like, I really want to work with this person and I know they can get these deals assigned. But started working together, and while we were at the dinner table, though, they were like, "Let's test it out. Let's see." And they were like, "Send me a deal." I sent them the deal. They put it on their story. Their assistant's phone started ringing. The deal was gone in like a minute or two.
While eating dinner.
And they were like, "Send me another one because that one's gone." And I'm like, let's do it. So that's how, because the first 6 months, I would say I probably only did like 6 or 7 deals up to that point. But after that, that's how I got to the 42.
Man, that's
yeah.
You just
not a style I would recommend for anybody listening. Don't just target influencers. You need real buyers. I regretted that when that buyer went bad, because it was like, now I got, all these other deals lined up for them. And
it just went south.
Yeah, now I need to start over. Yeah.
For sure.
You need a diverse dispo process.
Yes.
A diverse one.
Right.
But
absolutely.
But you finding that outlet, that's a huge win.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Mitt was the person that really put you on.
Oh, 100%.
To the wholesale thing.
Oh,
so you were doing the search
110%,
on social, and then you find Mitt.
Behind a hashtag, I found this page. I think I like hashtag real estate or investment properties.
Yeah.
And one of his posts came up, and yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I found him on a podcast on YouTube. I was just, I was unemployed at the time. I was like watching cars, and like I'm just trying to find new side hustles. Right. So Amazon FBA. I saw him talking about flipping contracts with cash or credit. I was like super intrigued. Joined a seminar, and I was like, dude, like, what do I look like buying a course online? But then I was like, bro, I took out all this debt for student loan.
Yeah.
What is $800, $1,000 at the time, and then best decision I could have made for myself.
Shout out to Mitt for knowing how to market himself.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he seems to be the underlying, like the common denominator.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you find an influencer, you do a bunch of these deals.
Yeah. Things
are different.
Right.
You figured your footing. You figured yourself out.
Yeah.
In the real estate side of things. Mm-hmm. What's the next couple of years look like?
Oh boy, it's crazy because people are always like, you did the 42 deals in the first year. By January, I was sad because I was like, it's not even like deals would be closing, and it's like, the thrill's not. It's not the same. Like, why am I jaded now? Like, why am I not like stoked for every single thing? So I was like, you know what? I need to. Then I started like studying the creative finance part because I'm like, I'm buying stuff, right? Tax sale or like the one I bought through Mitt.
So and you're owning real estate at this point too. So you're wholesaling?
First year I was buying too and wholesaling.
Wow.
So in the first year I bought, let me count them up. So the one from Mitt, and then there was 2 other doors in Baltimore. Like one I got off of a handwritten letter for $2,000.
That's awesome.
And then like one out in Flint that a seller pretty much just like gave me. They were like, you should take it. Yeah. But I'm like, I need more. Like I want more, and I want rental properties.
So you wanted to expand yourself within real estate.
Yeah, and I wanted to learn the creative finance side of it. Mm-hmm. Like I'd heard bits and pieces, and I started to get really intrigued in it, but I really truly wanted to learn it because I know I have this gift and this ability talking to sellers, and if I could just figure it out, I can definitely get some creative deals.
Okay, so like your next step was like mastering your craft there, and then using your ability to like on acquisitions.
Yeah,
because you talk that talk, man. You could get some dope creative deals for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, like still focusing on wholesaling though.
Yeah.
Like still focusing, and that's a lot, like running your team, having your employees, doing all that.
Talk about the team part. Are they American based, overseas?
Philippines. So they were, I got them from a VA pimp. I stole them from a pimp because he was mistreating them. And they're my girls. I care a lot about them. But he wasn't giving them any of their bonuses, and I could sense that because they're so grateful. But then when I would be paying out bonuses, I'm paying them to the pimp, and I'm not feeling the gratitude from the girls. Yeah. So I'm like, I wonder if this pimp is paying them.
My man was pocketing a lot of that.
Yeah.
Bonus.
Oh my goodness.
So you went through like a staffing agency in the Philippines?
He actually found me on Facebook posting deals and said, I got VAs, cold callers. You can interview. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, let's do it. The first 3 I interviewed, I hired the first 2 out of that. It was May and Patricia. May was my ride or die with me forever. And Patricia was more of like stern, but the sellers really loved her, smoking gun on the phones. May's very bubbly. Patricia's very hard. but it was
So
just
early
dream
on, they
team.
were like locking deals, huh? Closing deals.
Oh my God, they got me 20 deals within like 30 days,
That's insane.
like lined up. But I had to teach them because I got overwhelmed. I'm like, wait a minute, I cannot underwrite all, like every day you're giving me 6 different things to underwrite, different sellers to call back, like make offers on all these things. I'm doing all this, like you all have to do some of this. So I started training them. It took like 4 months, but after I got them to that point, they can make offers. They could send contracts.
So
I put May more towards the admin task. She could communicate with title. I would have deals close out while I'm on vacation where I'm just getting a notification.
people
Hey,
dream for that.
Yeah, hey, Queen, we're funded. And I'm like, great. Oh, I don't even know much about this deal, but great. That's great news.
The money just rolling in
Yeah.
from that, and it's automated.
Yeah,
so to
and I'm
speak.
like, oh, leads aren't down, so I think everything's going good. But when you really like take the time to look in your business, you're like, wait a second, you were getting this many leads this week. Why was it so off this one? And then you're listening to the calls, catching things. But it wasn't in that second year. First year great, second year going great. I'm like, there's no way they can't be doing their job because we're hitting every mark.
Right.
So, can't be anything but little things. And I'm like, by the third year, I'm catching them in all types of stuff. 4 hours in the beginning of the shift, they're doing the calls. Well, not May, because at that point she didn't have to do that. But Patricia's making the calls, and then I'm like, oh, okay, everything sounds good. But then when you listen to the second half of her shift, she's hanging up on everybody. Oh, it was a rough day. I'm so sorry. And then you feel bad for people. It's like, damn, you've been with me for some time. I know your kids. Like,
yeah.
You
the
reprimand,
emotionality of it
but,
versus
yeah.
business. Understand.
Team
It was
building's
hard.
not easy.
It's not.
No. People complicate it,
Yeah.
but team building is definitely not easy. That's kind of the hardest part of this.
Yeah. It really is.
It's not really like understanding, like once you get the process and you got a formula going, you yourself can do it, no problem. But in order to scale, you got to put people in a position to do it. And then
That you
people
could
decide
trust.
they want to do what they want to do. And they usually mess up their own bag doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So true.
So do you still have the same team, or like what's going on?
No. So May, she's always been a boss. And my goal was always for us to get to the point where we had people working under us. Her, she had employees working under her. I asked her early on what her dreams were, and she said to have her own virtual assistant agency. So as we're building our business, I'm pushing her to build hers. Right. And I'm like, you need to do that, May. Like, if you can manage both, great. If not, that's fine. Let me know. But you deserve everything you want. Like, and I really mean that.
Right.
So she got to the point where she had 10 virtual assistants under her, and I didn't have any parts of that. The VA pimp, I was paying him $6 an hour. They were only giving May and Patricia 2 and taking all their bonuses. Wow. So when I stole them, I'm like, I'm giving you all the full 6. And eventually May got up to 8. Patricia kept making mistakes. So she never got there. And then she started to resent May and be like, why do you work so hard? You make me look bad. And just, it was crazy. But May stuck it in with me. And so I had to let her go this year because I was catching her and stuff. And then it was starting to affect our closings and our deals.
I remember you mentioned something on Clubhouse.
Yeah. And it was like, it was really hard though. It was such a hard
It's like a household
time.
name, yeah.
Yeah. And I love her. Like, I love May, and we still talk, and I'm still checking in on her, still wishing her the best. But she was doing things that were jeopardizing our deals. Sellers were getting really upset. And then I'm like, May, these are like really common mistakes. Like, what is going on? Then she was lying about time. Like, 4 hours would go by, and I'm like, hey, why isn't X, Y, and Z done? And she's like, oh, I spent this morning responding to emails first, as I'm supposed to do. May, there was 3 emails, and 2 of them were spam. What are you?
Yeah.
Like,
Where's
you
all
didn't
that time?
spend 4 hours responding to this one person. Then she started doing tasks I didn't even ask her to do, and she's like, oh, well, I thought it would be good for this, or it would be, no, we have to do this.
Start
But,
taking
yeah.
direction from other people and whatnot.
And by the time it got to that point, we had a killer, like first quarter, second quarter killer, to where I was like, damn, girl, like I can't complain too much, but at the same time, this is still a business and we have to run it a certain way. But by the time all this is coming out, I'm like, right now, I don't even want to do this shit right now because I'm focused on this surgery. I'm about to get this surgery this year. You know, that's coming up. I'm so locked in with physical therapy. Like, I need to spend time with my son before I go. I really don't want to work 16 hours a day. Right. And now I'm to the point where I got tenants and I got properties cash flowing. Yeah. And my cash flow is enough to cover all my bills and still afford me the life that I want. So, and not travel wise, because let's make that clear. Because the life I want travel wise, I'm not quite there yet. Okay. Like, I love to travel, and like eventually I'll get to that point where I'm just traveling nonstop. Yeah. But Hunter will be in college. But I'm like, I never got into this to be the biggest wholesaler. Right. You know, some people have said stuff to me or little remarks like, I won't repeat it, but I let them know, no, you're confused. My goal isn't to be the biggest or best wholesaler. You know, it's passive income. It's freedom and peace. Period. Wholesaling doesn't allow that. It will allow a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And done with the right people and the right teams, it could be peaceful and it could be profitable and it could be great. But done where I have to babysit and run teams and kind of, you know, I hired several people after them, but I had to fire them. They weren't doing anything they were supposed to do. So it was like, no, I'm just going to pause this. Not wholesaling though, because deals were still coming in. I built up the pipeline. I spread the word. So now I have people bringing me deals where I just got to pay them on the back end $1,500. Referral fees. So why would I continue to pay girls for hourly rates and you're working and I'm babysitting when deals are still coming in? So I'm cool.
That's true.
Like, I don't...
It's not even just about paying them hourly. It's like the peace of mind. Yeah. And not having to like watch over someone.
And I thought at first, like, I couldn't do it. Like, and I'm like, Colleen, you did it before May and Patricia, so you can close the deal out. Thanks. You could deal with the admin task. That's the part I thought I couldn't do. Because I'm like, I don't want to get on these emails with title. I'm like, shut up, you spoiled brat. Like, get on the emails with title and close the deals. So at first, that first email was awkward as hell. You know, emailing a title company that's used to dealing with your assistants and you're like sincerely calling, you know. Yeah. But I explained to them, look, these people are no longer with me. I'll be handling this. And then before I noted, like before it long went on, I'm like, I only had to email them like a total of 8 times. Like, what am I complaining about? Like, I made $15K off this deal and I sent 8 emails. Like, I survived. And I paid one girl $1,500 for bringing me the deal, and
everyone gets paid out.
Everything's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have, and then I look at my coach, Courtney. Courtney doesn't have that. You know, Courtney is somebody that I really look up to. Courtney Fricky, she's a beast in real estate. From the first moment I heard her speak, I knew I wanted to learn from her. And one of the things I've learned from her is you don't have to build this big machine that you constantly have to feed. If you do good business is just going to come to you. So I started to like emphasize on that and really spread the word, like, hey, who has properties? You know, I pay referral fees, or you have to say finder's fees. Right. Hey, who has this? Let's do this. And people love getting paid. And when you pay people out like you should,
on time,
they're going to keep bringing you deals. Like, I can show you, you know, better than I could tell you, like somebody that I've paid out over $20K in those referral fees.
Just by referring a property, just not locking up the deal, talking to them like, hey, look, this person might wants to sell.
No, they'll talk to them too, but they won't do like paperwork. They're not going to do everything.
Right.
But they'll say to you, Colleen, I got somebody really good. You know, has multiple properties. He wants to get rid of this one. He wants to see what kind of offer you can make. And then just continue like that. So, yeah,
that's a big testament. Like, for the audience, right? Like, if you're brand new, you're kind of scared to, like, learn wholesaling, just start warming up some leads and get paid referrals. Yeah. Just paid out $20K. Yeah. Like, and you can make real money that way.
It is really great money. Like, I just closed one Sunday on Friday, a $7,500 deal that I will pay that person $1,500. I make $6,000, but I didn't have to market. I didn't have to pay for this or pay for that or pay for employees or cold call or do anything. Like, yeah. So, but I do want people to know, like, part of my decision to go this route, because I know a lot of people are looking at me like, well, you know, you're not with me anymore, or you fired Patricia, you fired this one. Are you still wholesaling? Yeah, we're still closing over this. I say, wait, it's just me. Yeah. But like, for me, I don't want to be what I see on social media. Not everything, because there's some good people you can follow on social media. But social media will put this, or you'll do it to yourself, this pressure. I need to do this X, Y, and Z. I need to do this and that. Focus on what your true goals are. If it's freedom and peace, are you going to accomplish that by watching everybody else and building the biggest wholesale business with, 30 cold callers? And all, if that's freedom and peace for you, fine. Freedom and peace for me is just what I've been able to do for the past 2 months. Yeah. Like before I left for my surgery, I made sure all my deals were closed out. I worked really hard and I had like 4 set up to, I'm like, no, I don't even want these closing after I leave. I need these closed like before I leave.
Right.
Because I want to leave and not have to work at all.
Nothing open.
I don't want to stress about nothing. I got my tenants paying my bills pretty much. Like my life is covered. Like, I'm good. I don't have to, I need to focus on walking again.
Let's segue into that. So
yeah.
You made money, saved up for an operation that you just came back from.
Yep.
Talk about that.
$104,000 is a lot of money to pay. And I only dropped that because I want people to know how hard I had to work for that. Because even though you are closing deals, you're making 20, and I know everybody makes different.
And real quick, was that any insurance money or anything?
No,
that's all
insurance doesn't cover that.
All you for the muscle.
Yeah, and it's like assignment fees are great, but when you get accustomed, like I got accustomed to $20K a month, if not more. But when you get accustomed to that and you get accustomed to a certain way or income, like it's going to get spent, especially if you're in real estate too. Like with me, I'm trying to save for this surgery, but I'm also trying to build my portfolio up. Yeah. It wasn't the cost of the properties because I get so creative. I have so many properties I bought for less than $5,000. So many, that I'm kind of like, I'll turn my nose up when a wholesaler comes to me and says, oh, I got a property right here for $80K. Well, will they accept terms? Because
I do the same thing. Like, I got this most amazing deal, like $75K. Like, no thanks.
Yeah,
bro.
right.
I can buy 4 of those, unfortunately. That's not being boastful, but
right.
When you go
like,
direct to seller, you get
you learn
the cream of the crop. Like, you understand.
Yeah, like why would I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm not doing that. But while I'm trying to save, I'm paying for my business. We know deals don't close every week. Right. We could have a bunch of deals in the pipeline, but if a buyer fell through or something went wrong, deals aren't going to close that week, and my employees still need to be paid. It's a machine. You have to keep feeding it. But saving up for the surgery, getting ready for that, it was a lot. Like it was really hard to focus on a million different things.
You got a surgery for you to walk again.
Yes.
After all this time.
Yes.
Wow.
So, as I was saying earlier, like I never took the doctor's diagnosis as my indefinite, like this is it for life. I always knew that I would walk again. And I told everybody that. I knew it so much that when I first got paralyzed, they wanted me on an anti-spasm medication because I would have, even though I'm paralyzed, random muscle spasms that would cause my legs to twitch and jerk, and it would cause shooting pain up my back, and it would be very uncomfortable. One time I kicked somebody and they didn't believe it was like not me. Wow. They're like, you did that. And I'm like, I swear it was a spasm. So awkward telling somebody you're paralyzed and you just kicked them.
Yeah.
Like I had no control over that kick, but I didn't take that medication because it would have killed any muscle tone in my legs. So I told them I don't want my legs to be like pencils because I will walk again. That helped because the surgery, but how I found out about the surgery, just looking online, doing my research. Now I was a little skeptical at first because I'm like, oh, this is a lot, and is it going to work? Is this legitimate?
After the India situation, too.
Yeah, after India, I'm like, I need to know for sure. So I started reaching out to the patients that had been there, and I started asking them their true experience. And they were from all over the world, and I could tell like they were giving me real answers, real experience. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. So I started saving up. I started doing the physical therapy. I started changing my health. I stopped eating red meat last year because it's not just and now I'm full vegan. Yep. Shout out to the vegans. I love being vegan. Like I really do. But it's not just a surgery. I was getting a stimulator put in my spine. I was also getting adult stem cells put into my lumbar. And if you getting a lumbar puncture with those, if you do certain things, it'll kill the stem cells. So you really have to be prepared. Like, it's no sense of getting that surgery and then drinking Red Bull and alcohol and like going to eat a cheesesteak and like you just killed the stem cells. Like you're, but the stimulator itself, it's like futuristic.
Like an actual module.
I brought the thing so I could turn it on for you all and like lift my legs up and do different things with it and like kick out. I'm gonna turn it on for you guys in a minute. But yeah,
we'll do like behind the scenes.
I'm gonna do. I'm definitely gonna do like some stuff. You guys will see. Like, I should have turned it on in here because I'll sit up really straight and stuff. But like, it's
what is that like? You feel something moving in your body?
Yeah,
like,
it's
physically feel
it's
that?
crazy.
You,
so I'm gonna break it down.
In your legs?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. It's insane. Like,
you've been working hard. I saw your stories, like physical training and all that.
Oh, it was so much work, but like, if you really want it, hold on, let me.
I want to see this.
Oh no, I was just like making sure my but no, I'll definitely turn it on and look at the programming because I have a whole mapping thing, so I'll go over that with you guys.
You mentioned on Clubhouse,
and we could do it at the end, and if you want to put any clips of that in, you can.
Sure. That'd be fine. Yeah. You mentioned on Clubhouse you were having like complications with the spasms or something like that.
Yeah.
What was that whole situation?
Yeah. So get over there and first of all, blown away by the facility. Shout out to Verita Neuro. That's the company, the facility, and it's in Guadalajara, Mexico. So they have 2 different locations. I picked Mexico because it was closer than the Thailand one. And I was just like, all right, let's go there. So you're there for a couple days, then you go down for the surgery. They do an MRI first, even though you sent one over, just make sure everything's okay. Surgery's supposed to be like 2 or 3 hours. Mine ended up being like 7. Like, I woke up and I'm like, didn't feel good. I'm like, something's wrong. Like
dizzy.
Something like I felt weak. Like I could barely like maybe it's medicine wearing off. And the doctor came in and was like, we had some complications. Your spinal fluid started to leak out. And we went, like, I think they went in just like maybe a tad too far. Something happened and the spinal fluid started to come out. So they had to do an emergency patch. And what was supposed to be like 2 days bed rest turned into 7. And the first like 3 or 4 days of that bed rest, I thought I messed up because I was like, this don't feel right. Like, something is definitely wrong. Like, I can barely move. Like, I feel so weak. Like, I hope everything's okay. And then I started, like, I just prayed on it. I just kept praying. And then I started to pull out of that. And then they sent the mapping therapist up to me. And they're like, we're going to turn the stimulator on just to see. We're going to put this device up to your back just to make sure everything is paired up. So I had 2 incisions, one down my spine. At the bottom, they opened me up, pulled back some muscle, not to go into graphic detail, but then they inserted that stimulator in there. Then to the right of that, they cut me open and inserted a battery and then stapled me up. I get charged with a wireless charger. Wow. Like, my back charges. I could show you. No, not a port. I just put the charger up to my back and it'll tell you like if you're connected or not. I might have to move it around sometimes. You can actually, I'll let you feel the battery in a minute. Yeah, you can feel it. Goodness. It's not, they were like, you lost so much weight. That's why you could feel it. I'm like, I shouldn't feel this. They're like, well, you keep losing weight. I'm like, okay, thank you. I'm like, all right. But they came up to the room and they paired it and they're looking at their tablet and they're both like looking shocked. And I'm like, is everything okay? And they're like, no, it's like really good. They're like, normally we don't see all this light up green that everything is paired. It might take a few days, but yours are really strong. Like, the connection's really strong. And they turned it on and they're like, we're just going to test out a few things. And as soon as they turned it on, they're like, you might feel some sensation in your legs. We're going to try to do the setting for you to be able to pull up your leg, like pull up my knee. And they're like, just, take a deep breath in and just try to focus on squeezing your abs. And I did it. My knee started to come up and I'm like, oh shit. And they're like, now we'll try it with the right. And same thing. They're like, well, now let's try kicking. So it was just like slight and faint the first day. By day 2, I was like, kicking straight out. Like,
damn. But to move your legs again.
Yeah. So
I couldn't imagine.
For me, I knew it was going to happen. Like, I knew, I had no doubts because the Most High came to me in a dream like 12 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. And in the dream, I could see like this bright light and I can hear this voice, and I was walking, and I looked down and I was walking, and he said to me, he was like, you will walk again, but not everybody's going to be happy for you. And he literally named like a person that was not happy for me whatsoever. Like they wanted me not to go.
So 12 years ago, that dream lined up to now.
Perfectly. So going into the surgery, I knew it was going to work because I saw that dream. I knew it was his will, his way. So I had the faith. I had like everything in me tell me it was going to work. So people were like, oh, were you shocked? You know, many people are like, oh my God, the first time your legs moved and you were able to pull them up or kick out, were you shocked? And I was like, no. I was like, why am I not jogging yet? Like, what are we doing? So I was trying so hard that they were like, Colleen, you, out of all of our patients, for some reason, like you try harder than anybody else. Yeah. Like we're telling you just to breathe in and squeeze your abs, but you're like squeezing your brain, like you're squeezing everything you have. So I'm like straight, I'm like doing all this stuff, and I'm like, and they're like, just breathe in, and like when you breathe in, it sets off something, and the different mapping goes.
Interesting.
Yeah. But the spasms issue was because I never took that medication they wanted me to in the beginning that would stop that tone. And luckily I didn't, because when I got there, they were like, wait, you've been paralyzed for 14 years? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, but you still have so much muscle. How? Like, how is that possible? And I'm like, because I never took the baclofen, and every time I would have a muscle spasm, I would encourage it to keep going because it contracts all your muscles in your legs. So they're like, we've never seen a patient not take that. And I'm like, well, I believed I will walk again.
Because you knew it was going to like thin your legs out and kind of reduce your chances.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, I want to be strong and ready. So, that's but awesome. The problem with that, it was a good thing, but it was a bad thing for when they started standing me up. So they got me in the harness. They would stand me up. They would turn on the stimulator, and they needed me to master or have down the locking setting where my knees would lock and stay in place. And the problem was the spasms would take over immediately, and they would make my knees bend. So here I am all ready to stand up and walk. Like every day I'm like, let's go. We're going to walk today. And I was always like the happiest person in the clinic, always just like laughing and joking and
vibrating
trying
that
to,
energy,
yeah. And then I would get up and I'd be up for like 2 minutes in the harness. The spasms would take over. Your whole body starts jerking, your legs. You're like going back and forth, back and forth. Your blood pressure shoots up through the roof because now I have the stimulator on, and like it's strong. Like this thing is strong. And then my BP is going all the way up. So my blood pressure would shoot above like 200, or sometimes it would drop down below 80. Like it was a struggle. Damn. And I would be passing out in the harness, but I would be telling them, no, I'm good. And they're like, no, you're not. And they're like, sit her down. And they're like, Colleen, your face. And I'd be like profusely sweating and like just dying. Like, and they're like, Colleen, it's going to happen. Your body just has to get used to it. Like it will happen. I'm like, but he's over there walking with a walker. Like, I should be doing that too. Like we came around the same time. Like
you're just so determined.
Yeah. And I'm like, I would get really frustrated with it, but I'm like, I know it's going to happen. God already told me. So I know it's going to happen. And then the last week that I was there, I got like 1 week left, and they're getting me up. Like knees are locking sometimes, but the spasms will take over. They're getting me to take steps, but the spasms will take over. And I'm like, this ain't good enough. I'm like, we got to do something. So I begged them to put me on the anti-spasm medication that I never wanted to take before. I'm like, we need to stop the spasms long enough that the machine could do what it has to do. Yeah. And the week before, they're like, no, I don't think so. You'll be okay. 3 days before I left out, they came up to me, the doctor, and she was like, you know what? I've been thinking about it. I think we're going to start that medication. And I'm like, I got 3 days left. How long does it take to kick in? She was like, 2. I was walking on the last day. Wow. By the last day, it fully worked. I was able to stand up, and they're like,
blood pressure's good?
Blood pressure's good. And the knees are locked. And they're like, they're locked. And I'm like, the one guy came over and he touched the back of it, and he kind of like karate chopped the back of it to make sure it was strong. And he unlocked it, and it felt, I was like, come on, dude. I'm like, what the? I cursed him out. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, why did you do
You
that?
could curse.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck, Ivan? Why the fuck would you do that? I was so pissed. I'm like, don't let him touch it. Don't let him touch anything ever again.
Finally started walking. My man chopped his
Yeah,
leg,
fucking karate chopped me. And I was down again. I actually have a video of that too. It's so funny because like it was recording because I'm like, record this because it's about to go down.
Yeah.
And but I'm like, all right, we're doing this again. Let's try again. And yeah, they were like, all right, we're gonna turn on the programs for steps. Your BP's good. I'm like, I'm great. Let's get it. And they turned it on. First it was the left leg. Took the first step. Then they tell you breathe in, right. Breathe in for the left. And then before I knew it, I walked across the whole room. I'm in the harness though, walking across the whole room. So yeah, it was
And you can
incredible.
feel the pressure through your whole leg. Were you feeling new things you never felt?
Oh yeah. Wow. And it's not just the stimulators, really the feelings coming back from the stem cells. And they tell you you're about to feel a lot more pain. It's because you're growing, like the spinal tissue's growing and it'll all be connected.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where does that leave you now? So that was in Mexico, what, 3 weeks ago now?
Yep, 2.5, like 3 weeks almost. Okay. So I came back here. Actually, the night before I left, my wound on the back, a few days before I left, they said it had opened up. Like they were always checking it. And they were like, we might have to sew you up some more. And I'm like, before I leave? I'm like, I don't know about that. Yeah. And they're like, well, let's wait a couple of days. We'll see. 4 hours before my flight, a doctor came in and he took another look and was like, we have to. If we don't, like, because when you come back home, nobody's going to touch that. Like that machine, that stimulator, they're not going to know.
Right.
Like if you go into an ER, they're going to be like, I don't know what to do with this. So I'm like, are you serious? They're like, yeah, you have to go to the OR as I'm packing for my flight. Wow. So they had to cut out like some dead skin. They had to sew me on the inside, the out. So I'm going like through the airport by myself. My carry-on broke. I got a trash bag filled with clothes. I was so embarrassed. I'm like, if anybody sees me that knows me, I need to like explain this, okay? I got my like checked luggage and like I'm going through all these different airports. I'm like layover in Houston. I'm struggling because I'm in so much pain and I just got re-sewed up. So it's like I can't even bend over. I can't move a certain way and risk opening this up again. So it was a nightmare getting home. And then my car, it was a lot. I don't want to, but I like from the airport.
You're solo the whole time with your bags. Just showing up again.
Yeah, it was, and carrying my wheelchair charger too, because my wheelchair was dying. And like through all this, so I would have to keep plugging up at different parts of the airport.
You didn't have like no assistance
like,
at these airports?
No. Like they'll help you get on the plane.
Right.
There was one guy assisting me, but he took me all the way to the wrong end. And I'm like, bro, I'm dying right now. My battery, I'm on 5%. I'm like, this is not a cell phone. Okay. Like this is my legs right now. So, but got straight to a doctor, had to get a new prescription for PT, got that right away, wasted no time with that. Now it's just getting in for the PT. I've left.
So that's about to start soon.
Yep. I'm hoping this week. Okay. But the thing is with this PT, so I can stand up now with the parallel bars without that harness. We can turn the programming on. I could get my legs to lock and then I could take the steps. And up until that last couple of days, I couldn't do that. But my legs, my legs are so strong now. Like I could do all those things. The only problem is with PT over here is they're going by the book for the insurance or whatever. They have all these rules and regulations. So the whole year I spent in PT here, it was like, well, let's just focus on safe stuff like car transfers or, mat transfers and things like that. And I'm like, well, now it's a little different. But I do have a rock star physical therapist. Her name's awesome. Christine. And I'm willing to hire her outside of, like her job. If when I go there, she says like, we can't do this or that. But
get her out of that PT pimp. Right?
Yeah, right. Get her away from the PT pimp. But the plan is right back into the harness, the parallel bars, because eventually the goal is to walk without the stimulator. When you get your legs strong enough, even though I didn't take that medication, 14 years not walking, there's no way in the world I could just jump right up and walk around how I used to.
What's that timeline looking like?
6 months.
And then just walk independent?
Oh, and well, there was actually guys walking independently there. Now, that's why I want to spend 6 months doing the PT and really getting my upper body up. But man, I had friends there I made that same level of injury as me. By the time they were leaving, they can walk with the walker without the stimulator on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the stimulator is supposed to like get you jump started.
Right.
And then moving forward.
The stimulator trains your muscles and gets the strength of your muscles up. But eventually they want you to the point that you don't have to turn the stimulator on. You could do this all on your own. So the next 6 months will be just gaining my strength, working on walking like up in the harness or with the parallel bars, and getting strong enough to the point that I could do this just with the walker and be able to walk.
So like 2-3 years from now, you're just walking by yourself in the mall.
That's the goal. That is the goal. And I plan to go back there in 6 months because they are so incredible there. Like, it's just, it's God. Like, they are God-driven people. Like, God is working through them because they really will push you. Like, even when I'm passing out, right? And I'm like, they're like, lay down for a second. After the 2 minutes is up, I might like try to check my phone for something. They're like, let's go. Let's go. And they really go above and beyond. And the PT is a million times better than here in the States. And over there, it's like $600 for like 15 sessions of it. Over here, it's insane.
Yeah, it makes sense to go back.
It's insane.
Wow.
And they work so hard. Like, that's where I want to be at. But I got to wait until my son's summer break.
One step at a time.
Yeah,
literally.
summer break. And then during this time, I'll be doing
quality of service, quality of the network, like the hospital. Like, people think they're going to go to another country and have a surgery. They think they're taking like 10-year steps back on medical quality.
Let me tell you something.
What's the quality of like the equipment, like everything that they have?
Better than I seen over here, actually, because when I first got there, when I went to India for the stem cells, it was such a shock to me because they were probably behind. Like, they had like equipment and stuff that was like from 20, 30 years ago. Wow. And like, you're riding through the streets of Delhi in a wheelchair on dirt roads, there's nothing's paved, and like, it just completely different. When I got to Guadalajara, the facility is the most beautiful hospital I've ever seen. Wow. Like, it's night and day compared to what I've seen over here.
The food looked amazing too. The vegan
food. Oh my God. Oh my God. The food is so clean. And then you look at stuff too, like, I was eating mostly all fresh stuff, but if I did go buy something from the store, you're looking at the ingredients. It's like 3 ingredients. And then over here, it's like 50. Like, my skin was just glowing every day. Like, just so different. And then the people, the care. Wow. I just couldn't ask for a better place, a better facility. And they're just more advanced. They want to do more. Over here, it's a money grab. A paraplegic is a paycheck to Big Pharma. Right? They want to keep us in the wheelchair because you know how much money they make off of that? Right?
Too much.
So, but over there, they don't want you in the wheelchair. They want you walking. They want you, like, they had patients in their physical therapy that were paralyzed. Like, one girl, Ariana, same level as me. This girl's walking with braces. And I'm like, oh, when did she get the stimulator? And they're like, she didn't. She just, like, we work her so hard here in physical therapy and push her, she's gotten to this point. Like, she just got a round of the stem cells and then us every day. And she was living in an Airbnb across from the facility. She moved down there for the 6 months.
They have like a real sense of community of like the people you met. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You said something interesting. You said they're making money here off of the symptoms, off of treating you and keeping you in the same condition.
Oh, absolutely.
Whereas over there, they have to prove model. They have to have an executed, like, they have to show the results of their work in a short period of time. That's very, very interesting.
So they're
how much did you say you paid for the
hard.
surgery? How much was it?
$104,000.
Yeah.
And then being there, with other people, I'm so happy that they were able to get it. But it made me realize, like, and it's another reason why I won't waste, this at all. Of course, why would I? But the stem cells, I will not do anything that would hurt the stem cells. Like, I won't even drink for the next 5 months, not even one drink, because that can kill the stem cells. But seeing other people there, and God bless them, God bless their families, that, they got injured, and 3 months later, their family was like, well, guess what? You're getting this surgery. We paid for it. We're on our way. And not that they worked hard still too, but it made me realize, like, damn, not everybody has like things that support or that. It would be nice, but I worked really, really hard for this. But yeah, 104, 104. I'll never forget that number.
Right. You built that money up through real estate.
You flipped your way back into mobility.
Mm-hmm.
That's
wild.
And I told Mitt,
that's wild.
Yeah, I told Mitt at the beginning, because everybody's why is different. That's another thing. People will be like, well, how come you've done so much? I feel like I haven't done enough. And I'm like, well, I was literally doing it to walk again. You're doing it because you want, or the person, they'll be like, well, I really want to get this car, or I want to get this, nice watch, or this. And I'm like, yeah, I want it to walk again. So our whys are very different.
Very different. That why is so important. That why has pushed you through the bad days.
Yeah.
When it's not working out.
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
What's your why after this?
Just building freedom and peace for my son and me. I mean, that was always the goal, but the big why was so I can get on my feet again for him.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to, walk next to my son, walk on the beach. You don't have to, there's beach wheelchairs, but I want to walk on the beach with my son. I want to be able to do all these things with my son that I felt, even if I could experience, it wasn't in the way I should have been able to.
No, you will.
Yeah.
Sure. You will.
Yeah.
Super inspiring, man.
To speak on that, like, even the trips you guys take together, that was awesome. Like, so you went to like Arizona or something like that with the cactus. Like, man, so like, you don't let it hold you back at all. Like, you're right on those planes, no problem.
Yep. Joshua Tree Park. We were just talking. We might do a little last minute trip in the next couple weeks. Maybe go out to there again.
Nice.
We're talking about it. Yeah, that's so important for me, because it's like, I want my son to have experiences. I want him to see the world. I want him to see all these different places. I want him to have a good time and a good, happy life. And it doesn't have to be material things, because I went to the tax sale last time in a $10 shirt. That's the kind of person I am.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, I don't want him stuck in one place, or he doesn't get the quality of life he should have, because I don't want to put the work in. Like, I should just put the work in. Right. If I have the knowledge and the ability to make the money, if somebody has taught me how to grow a portfolio, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Love that.
Amazing story.
He's a very respectable kid, so you raise him really well.
He's amazing. He's the best kid in the world.
I gave him a ride in the Benz before.
Yeah, he was so happy.
He's so nice. He's like, oh, thank you so much. This is such a nice car.
He really wanted to get up in there, because I was telling him about it on the way.
Yeah. Oh, he's a great kid.
Yeah.
I got a question here. I wrote down a few questions. How did you find that spot to have the surgery? How did you you do a lot of research for yourself, but how did you find that spot in Guadalajara?
So looking online, like researching about stem cells, paraplegics walking again, and just kind of similar to Mitt, I found it on Instagram one day, and of course I was like, oh, it's on Instagram. Is it real? So that's how I started, like, seeing all their different patients that would comment on things, because they wouldn't tag the patients. But at that time, they weren't tagging anybody. But I would be all up in the comments, like, and then when I would see that patient say, this was the best decision I ever made, or, oh, I wish you didn't catch me at that angle, but this is a great video. And I'm like, messaging them and doing my own due diligence.
That was legit my follow-up question. How did you find the patients?
Yeah.
So they weren't giving you the patients. You were doing your investigation to find them.
Even sometimes they wouldn't be in the comments, but they would like the video. So I would see, like, oh, wait, that's the blonde. Let me look through these likes.
Wow.
There's the blonde girl. That's her.
Wow.
That was her. And then message them. Yeah.
Wow. Resilient, Ms. Gallagher.
And trust me, not every patient was like, oh, best experience ever. Like, definitely go do it. There was a couple that were like, well, I got back everything I needed in my left leg, but my right leg sometimes gives me a hard time. And I'm like, Like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. I would hop on it. Like, I would just be on I would pull out some crutches and just make it work with one. But all right. But the majority were like, yeah, it was the best decision I ever made.
That's amazing.
So really what they do is they put in the stem cells, and then that stimulator just shocks it into working. It stimulates it into working.
The stem cells are separate. So the stem cells will go straight to your spine to grow the tissue. Any damaged tissue, it'll regrow it.
Wow.
And then the stimulator, though, they turn it on, and it's all just hooked up to your brain and the electrodes in your body. And it sends the signals down to your legs like, okay, kick. Okay, we're putting on, because I can't put on every program at the same time.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to stand up, I would do the lock knee program, and then I would select the step one to take the actual steps.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And the goal is to not be on the stimulator.
Yep.
It's to let the stem cells fix the scar tissue, fix the damaged tissue, and then get off of the stimulator.
And just an example of like how it works or how fast it works.
Yeah.
When I first got there, if I were to lay completely flat, I could not, without using help or my elbows or arms, just be able to sit up and do crunches.
Yeah.
And that's, when I first got there, no trunk control whatsoever.
Yeah.
But one of the settings is sitting up, sit-ups, and ab control, trunk control. And within just a few weeks, they would, in physical therapy, without it on, tell me, okay, now let's try the sit-ups now. And I could do it.
Wow.
Just in a couple weeks, I got the muscle strength up that I could do it without the stimulator on. So, and by the time I came home, because I put a strap around my legs when I used that chair that you all saw, because it's a smaller chair, just keep my legs in one place. And before I left, used to putting it on, no problem with it fitting. I lost weight over there, working out so much, eating so clean, and just eating not as much as, back here. Yeah. But when I came back, it couldn't fit. And I'm like, what is the problem? And I'm touching I'm like, oh, because I built so much muscle. Like this muscle's so big now. But it builds the muscles up.
Your move by not taking that medication that destroyed the muscle tissue, that was the move. Yeah. I don't know if believing that you're going to walk to that point where you're not taking medication. That was a move.
Real faithful. Yeah.
That was a real faithful move.
Nobody else was doing it either. They're like, you really want to sit through that pain of those fat? And I'm like, well, I don't want to lose my legs, like the tonality of them or the tone in there. I don't want to kill the muscles, and that's what it does. It kills the muscles.
But you believed in your ability to walk so much that you dealt with the pain. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people they fail at that part. Whether it's wholesaling or business or, like a physical issue, they don't ever want to deal with the pain. Mm-hmm. And because they don't want to deal with the pain, they end up quitting or losing or just taking the easy way out.
Giving up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Giving up before they even really start.
I learned a lot from you.
Thank you, guys. This was really great.
One last question for you. Kind of transition to real estate. How important was mentors for you?
Oh my God. I don't think I would have what I have if it wasn't for mentors, honestly. And then it's about getting around the right mentors. Like we talked about this before, because on social media, it's easy to fall for what you think is real on social media. It's just social media at the end of the day.
Just a highlight reel.
People get really good at acting or being content creators, and you might fall for that. Like I've been ripped off a couple times because I fell for that, and I thought that was real. But when you get around people that actually wouldn't have a problem showing you real receipts, or they take you through what they really actually do, and then you start to learn from them, it just changes everything. Yeah. For me, it started with Mitt. Mitt is one of the most honest, real people I know. Yep. He's no fluff, no BS. He works very hard. He's been doing this forever. I knew from that first call that this was real. I was kind of skeptical at the bank. I'm like, I think they're still going to lock me up. But I believe Mitt, but is this legal? But then mentors or coaches like Courtney Fricky, who all her coaching, we were in the same coaching group.
Yeah. I can't wait. That's 7 met her. I cannot wait to meet her.
Oh my God, that's going to be so good.
She's great.
But hearing from her, one thing that really attracted me to her was that all of her mentors had been non-social media guys or like the gray hair guys.
Deion Johnson.
Yeah. People that have been in the business since the 70s. And like, she's like, they're not cool on paper or to like the rest of the world, but man, they're fascinating to me because they actually do this. So getting around her, like, it was like, all right, game over. Like, I'm going to build wealth through real estate, and I'm not going to just do it like off of assignment fees. Assignment fees are great, but for what I'm trying to chase, freedom and peace, I'm only going to have that through the passive income I can get by doing good business, taking care of people, and actually getting the job done, getting the property.
Actually get busy in real estate.
Yeah.
You know, some people, they prey on ignorance. You know,
They
people
do.
are new. They see it like, oh my gosh, it looks great, and get taken advantage of. It's unfortunate.
I've seen behind the scenes people empty out their entire 401k, everything they have saved. I've seen people sell off the little bit of assets they have to invest in a mentorship and turn around and say, I can't even get this person on the phone. And I'm like, really? That's interesting. So you paid $20,000, $30,000. You're telling me you gave this person $80,000 and you can't reach them on the phone. You can't. And I've seen people like that come to MIT's community or other spaces looking for help. Like, the students that are like, hey, we had a couple on this past week that were like, I've invested in mentorships and I'm here looking for help because I don't get any.
Here's a rule of thumb for me. Like, if you're brand new and you like want to learn how to make some money, because I was broke when I started, you shouldn't be paying over $5,000.
No,
not even over $2,000.
When you're trying to get,
when you're brand new, trying to like learn the basics, like how to sell and negotiate.
Yeah.
Why are you going to debt $30,000? That doesn't.
No.
You just put that into real estate itself. That doesn't make any sense.
None.
The other thing that Mitt does really interesting is he will credit you back the money. He'll give you back the money if you close a deal.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing that he does. He'll tell you, look, if you're really taking this seriously, just, I don't even want the money. Here you go, just take it back.
Yeah.
In my first wholesale check, he cash at me right back. What I paid for the course.
That's kind of a real thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of fake fluff. Well, there's a lot of people not doing shit that they say they're gonna do, and the receipts are super important.
Then you also have to look at well, it's a couple things that people, like anybody watching, I always want to warn people because it breaks my heart when I see somebody dump out their life savings for a mentorship and they just get robbed. So all that glitters is not gold on social media. But watch out for the people that are like posting a lifestyle, but not posting the receipts, right? You always see them on a trip, or you see this car, or you see that, but where's the property? Where's the real estate? Where's the calls from the contractors? Where's the leaks? Where's the real life situations? You don't ever hear them talking about those things because they're not happening. They pay their bills off of mentorships. I like learning from people that pay their bills off of real assets and real work. So find people like that to learn from, like people that really do it, not just, oh, they dress well, or they were on a private jet this weekend.
Yeah.
Man, I watched, and it's just, I'm not going to mention any names, but I watched somebody take millions from people that trusted him.
That's wild.
Millions of dollars, and
That's wild.
Right in front of like the whole world, this was going on, and everybody just glorified this person. And I'm watching this happen while the students are calling me crying like, hey, they won't even pick up for me. I took out all these business loans. They told me to give them the cash, lines of credit. I gave them the cash. I haven't heard back from them. We're talking like $100K per student.
That's
Do
sick.
not. And I felt for that I didn't give them my money, but I believe that person was legit. I was like, oh man, what a great investor. No, what a great actor.
When you buy a property, you have to do your due diligence. When you're dealing with a person, you should do your due diligence. When you buy a course, you should do your due diligence. When you're getting a surgery, you should do your due diligence.
Yes.
Whatever it is, do your due diligence. I think a lot of people, they get sold on the dream, and they don't really know how to think for themselves. Like they just they see something and they want to emulate a lifestyle. You're 100% right. You gotta really think about what it is this person has to offer. Are they really giving you the value that they're saying they're going to give you. Like, where's their flips? Where's their renos?
Right.
Where's their banking problems?
Where's the HUD ones?
Yeah.
Where's the HUD ones? Where's the clear to close notifications?
Right.
No,
Where's the
can't
checks?
post those. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
How could
You know, and I like how you all post not just the HUD ones, but the funds in the actual bank account, because we all know you could get a HUD one the night before closing, and then the closing might not happen.
Yes.
So yeah, the HUD ones are important, but you all show even more beyond that. But yeah, it's so important.
And what we're doing, we don't have a product to sell on the educational
Yeah,
side.
you got nothing to sell you, bro.
Like our educational stuff is free.
right here.
Like you just come on YouTube, subscribe, and you see it. We're giving it away. Like I don't know. After she's telling me these guys are charging $100K, free sounds kind of dumb on our side, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But and then on top of it, people talking shit in the comments. That's like the best. Well,
Oh God,
look,
people that don't really know.
You
right?
got a world where trolling is the thing to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Keep
People are
trolling,
pay-
man. Help the algorithm out.
Yeah.
People are paying
exactly,
30 grand
yeah.
No problem.
for a course, and we're just giving them out the information. Like, imagine you where you were 4 years ago, bumping into that content for free,
Yeah.
and being able to educate yourself and move yourself into a place where you can buy back your mobility
Right.
for free.
Right.
That's kind of wild.
And it's like, so mentors like Mitt and Courtney, I would definitely pay for like whatever coaching they have going on.
Yeah.
But I will say this as well too. I've learned so much for free.
Yeah.
Just like coming
Yeah.
around investors like Ellis San
networking.
Jose.
Ellis is great. Yeah.
You know, just different people that show up like with the heart you have, the heart to serve, the heart to teach others. Like you don't have a product, right? So you're like, I'm going to take time out of my Sunday, come here, shoot the podcast for what? You're not like, oh, buy this, buy that. Like you really want to teach people so they can, it's paying it forward.
That's a fact.
So yeah,
I
people
learned a
that-
lot from, because like
yeah.
again, you taught early on, paying it forward is huge.
Yeah.
We get something out of the conversations as well.
Yeah.
There is an exchange. Like, there's things I learned in your situation right now that I'm
Yeah.
gonna apply for myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? Your resilience is interesting.
Thank you.
You
I
embody
appreciate
that.
that.
Very interesting.
You're built different,
Thank you
Colleen.
guys.
1000%.
How do you deal with people that don't have any of the challenges that you have, and just are so broken? Like, how do you?
It's so hard.
Like, how do you have the my question is this: how do you have the patience to deal with people that break themselves and they don't have any challenges? How do you deal with that?
It's actually really hard because like how could you complain to me? And it's like they'll complain about like the small, oh well, I tried, I guess it's just not working
You're
out.
the
I
last
just
person,
you
yeah.
know, and like what was me? And like, can you believe this seller hung up on me today? Like, I don't even think this is gonna work. And I'm like, you're complaining to somebody that
The wrong perspective.
like was shot, left paralyzed from the chest down.
Yeah.
Like you have no idea. You could not roll in my chair for a week.
Yeah.
You wouldn't last. Like
Yeah.
you're crying and complaining over a couple no's. Like what?
No excuses.
So
bro.
it's hard, and I've cut out a lot of people because of that.
Yeah.
Because it's like I can't change you.
Yeah.
Like if I could try to motivate you, I could try to educate you,
Yeah.
but if you are that person inside that
You're
woe is
self-defeated.
me, that Debbie Downer, the person that's going to always make an excuse for something,
Yeah.
I don't want to waste any time here.
Absolutely.
I could just wish you the best,
Yeah.
but what can I really do?
And to add to that, have some shame.
You really,
Like,
really
have some shame in your, if you have all your wits about you, all your ability about you, if you don't have anything that's holding you back, and you're making these kind of bullshit excuses, have some shame in yourself. I mean, you can't.
It's
There's
pathetic,
people really
really.
going through some serious stuff. It's an example of it right here, you know. And they're looking at the glass half full. They're not really looking at it half empty. Not only are they looking at the glass half full, they're living their life. Shit.
Yeah.
You know, shout out to you.
Thank you, Mo.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for being on
Thank
here.
you.
Real
We
quick.
want to
guys
have you
for
on here
everything.
again, by the way.
Where can
Oh,
people
definitely
where can
do.
people find you, Colleen?
On Instagram, I am investing with Colleen, 2 L's, 2 E's. And each and every Thursday, we do a free class. Kareem is a part of that, and he's one of the teachers there as well. If you download the Clubhouse app and you look up the Mortgage Syndicate Real Estate Cafe, every Thursday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, man, we put on a great room. We have investors from around the country that I get no furus allowed on stage. If you're a furu, don't even waste your time. You'll get embarrassed, okay? And there's
Wait, hold on. What does that mean? What does that mean?
a furu. You know, they fake gurus. They
A furu.
A furu. They don't really do this.
I see.
But my real investor friends who I'm privileged to share that stage with, they come on there not to pitch, just to pour, and they do it for hours on Thursday. So it's usually 8 to 12, but we go later. Like last Thursday, we were on there till 3. I had a title company expert come by, an owner, just to drop game knowledge and talk about recent uptick in fraud cases. Very interesting stuff. But we help people that are brand new in the business, or maybe you have some experience, but if you have questions, they're always going to get answered. Nobody's going to say to you, oh, I can't answer that unless you pay me. No, we're just going to answer it if we have the answer. We do live calls in there. We do role playing. Man, we do a lot in there. Courtney Fricky comes, breaks down creative investing, buying properties with promises, sub-2 deals. I mean, we got all kinds of experts that really do this business. But that is Mortgage Syndicate Real Estate Cafe on Clubhouse every Thursday.
We love it.
No excuses, man.
I'm on there. I'm
yes,
listening.
sir. Let's go.
And
I'm going to have him as a guest very soon.
I'm on there listening as a student. I'm learning. I'm a student of the game. I want to learn. So I'm listening on the conversation. Like when you had Courtney on there, I was telling you earlier, just listening to her, man, she really, really dives deep.
That's how you gotten so far in the game, bro. Like always stay a student.
Bro,
you always absorb.
Oh, yeah, listen. I know when to listen. That is a key thing. Some people are so filled with arrogance that they don't know when to listen. I'm taking notes. Shit, not only
that's funny. That's what I say
I'm
too
taking
about
notes,
Courtney.
bro. Like I'm not just listening. I'm absorbing. I'm taking notes.
I say the same thing. Like when Courtney Fricky and some of the other teachers in there, I'm a student, and when they talk, I listen. I shut up.
Absolutely.
I want to learn. I'm taking the notes too.
And it's not just like business. Like I learned things from you about life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you gotta learn how to be able to take the punches and keep on rolling. That's nothing to do with money.
Right.
It has nothing to do with business. You would be successul in almost anything you do because you have the right perspective.
Yeah, you got to have the right
as long
mindset.
as you know how to bob and weave.
Yeah.
And you got callous skin.
Yeah.
Because of your situation, your history, that you're able to like let things roll off your back. Like, what do you look like not quitting on yourself in this situation? Like you said, when you've gotten shot, you've had a situation growing up.
Right.
What, like, that's not even a realistic, it's not even serious for anybody to, in your shoes, that's very, very interesting to me. That's what in this conversation, that's my takeaway. Resilience. You know what I'm saying?
I couldn't imagine waking up from a coma and like everything gone again. Like
not just your legs, like
different, bro.
Everything you had, like your house, your car, everything.
People around
So
you.
it was,
but they didn't take your resilience.
No.
They took your stuff, and they took your ability to be mobile temporarily.
Yeah.
But they did not take the one thing that you taught yourself: resilience, strength. That's not something that people have a lot of, especially today. They Uber their meals, they Uber their relationships, they want everything easy. They want the fucking deal to come up on the first call.
Oh, yeah.
They want to talk on the phone. They want to close a deal, lock it up. That shit don't happen.
No.
It doesn't work that way.
Gotta put that work in.
Yeah. And when you have resilience, like it's not
unstoppable.
It's not going to happen on the first deal, on the 10th deal, on the 20th deal. But I'm going to be able to walk.
Yeah.
Like, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of respect for you, Colleen.
Thank you.
A lot.
Thank you. A lot of respect for you, gentlemen, as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for being on here. We're gonna have you on here again.
I would love that,
guys. If you like what we're doing, make sure you subscribe. If you like what we're doing, hit that like button, smash that like button. If you want to follow Kareem, give him that.
Yeah,
that
you can
IG.
find me on Instagram at KRDirect LLC for the business side. I'm starting to promote the car page a little bit more at Astro_Reem. If you guys like cars,
my man loves his cars.
Oh yeah,
got a
you can follow
beautiful
me on
car
IG.
sitting outside right now.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
You can follow me on IG at at SINAN_EASMAEL. Thanks for watching.
Then for the device now, the device is
How often do you use it?
every day.
Every
You
day.
got to, or the muscles will die. They were telling me about people that paid all that money. I said, the moms had to pay for it. Because they paid all that money and never turned it on. Like, afterwards, they were like,
It
months
just dies
went
out.
by, and they were like, hey, how do you turn this on? I never turned it on. They were calling the place, and they were like, are you kidding me?